Justin Lane,
Yes.
Robert Perris,
Yes.
Marlon Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes. That carried.
Item 7A2, Teresa.
I can't hear, guys, I can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit, you're like a distance.
Opening my mouth.
Okay, the treasurer's report is.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The treasurer's report is for the month ending June 30th, 2018. The total yield to maturity, well, the average yield to maturity for the total portfolio was 1.813%, which is up 0.18% from the prior month. The average days to maturity for the total portfolio is 355 days, or just about 1 year. And total cash and investments at June 30th were $91,413,139, which is down about $463,000 from the prior month. Page 2 on the back shows the breakdown of those investments and where they're located.
Does that conclude your report?
If there's no questions.
Okay, well, I'll move to approve item 7A2.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes.
Frank Donato. Frank.
Yes.
Justin Lane. Justin. Marlon Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes. That carried.
Wait. I don't think you asked for me. Yes.
Rob Perris, sorry. Justin got me on.
Always leave me out.
Sorry.
A3.
Item 7A3 is consideration and possible action to approve resolution number R-18-95, setting tax rates for LA, Kern, Ventura counties effective 8/1/18. And are you going to have a report on this? The only comment I have to make is that we have not had any increases since the 1980s, so we're happy about that.
Yes, I think if I gave you that number, I think I was mistaken. You haven't had any increases for the last 12 years. There was several increases that occurred until 1985, and between 1985 and now, the tax rate has continued to decline over those years. It's declined by almost over 70%. It was at a high of 33 cents per thousand, and it's down to 7 cents. So, and we've continued that rate for the last 12 years. I apologize if I
Good.
made a mistake there, but the news is good, regardless. So. And this resolution would set that tax rate at the same rate as it's been for the last 12 years for the agency, and the staff would recommend approval.
Well, I'll move on board with 7A3.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsable.
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Justin Lane.
Yes.
Rob Perris.
Yes.
Marlon Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes. Carried.
Item 7A4 is we need to set a date for a special board meeting for the budget workshop, and the proposed date was August 21st. But we have asked if we can change that to the 20th because we have the urban water management, thank you, conference on the 21st. So does the 20th look good to everybody? August 20th at 6:30? Gary?
I might be at the fair. The fair starts the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Dan's here, he might be able to give you some time off.
Dan, will you give me a day off?
Absolutely not.
Well, is that, because we need you there. So if you can't, if you're not gonna make it,
What time?
6:30.
You know, what I can do is just come in and
It won't necessarily be a short meeting.
what day is it?
It's a Monday.
Yeah, let's go ahead and figure it
You just want to find out what concert you're going to.
That's what I was gonna ask.
out. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That'll be all right?
Thanks, Gary.
How about Frank? It's the 20th.
What?
Okay, and Justin?
What?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you heard, that to have our budget workshop on August 20th. It's a Monday.
That's Monday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
Okay, Justin?
Yeah, that should work for me.
Okay, great, we can't make that. Okay. All right, Holly, so we'll shoot for the 20th. And that concludes my report.
Do we need to hold a board order establishing?
It's not asking for one. Just to have a conversation.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for the report. Item 7B, Water Bank Resources Committee. Dwayne, will you be giving this?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this item, B1, is consideration of possible action on approval of a term sheet with Metropolitan Water District of Southern California for the High Desert Water Bank. This is the key #1 goal of the strategic plan for the agency to provide a resource for outside agencies to store water and utilize water to the benefit of our ratepayers and taxpayers. And this is the first step in realizing that program to its completion. This term sheet is agreed upon between the AVEK staff and the Metropolitan staff. It's now being presented to the board for consideration. The committee took a look and reviewed that yesterday and was in concurrence with the term sheet moving forward. And we do have Matt Payne of Western Water Research. He's a consultant we've used to analyze these types of financial water transactions in order to provide the analysis of the benefits to the agency and the potential financial benefits that our ratepayers will receive from moving forward with a project of this type. So with that, he has a PowerPoint presentation he'd like to present, and we'd like to do that now. It's appropriate.
Hello, Matt.
Good evening.
President Dice, members of the board, my name is Matt Payne with West Water Research. I'm here today to present a proposed term sheet for a water banking agreement between AVEK and Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. You may remember over 12 months ago now, my firm concluded a financial feasibility study for the High Desert Water Bank. And one of the key recommendations that came out of that was to pursue long-term water banking agreements with high quality partners. And over the past 12 months or so, the staff has been doing exactly that. This term sheet is a result of about a year of discussion and coordination between AVEK staff and Metropolitan staff. My perspective on the term sheet is that AVEK staff has done a really good job of structuring an innovative agreement that provides a lot of benefits to the agency, which we'll go through. This is an important milestone in the process of bringing on a long-term banking partner, but it's not the end of the process. There's a lot of work left to be done to enter into a formal agreement, which will be coming in the future. Today we're just here to go through the term sheet, will be the basis of that agreement, and get the board's, ask for the board's approval on that term sheet. So this slide goes through the objectives of the water banking agreement and also the benefits to both parties. So the objectives are to develop the High Desert Water Bank to improve the reliability of the state water project on the East Branch, and also improve AVEK's financial stability by bringing in a new source of reliable revenue. Both of those objectives are consistent with the 2015 strategic plan. There's a long list of benefits on this slide to AVEK. The first is that the result of this agreement, when it comes to fruition, will be the construction of the High Desert Water Bank with no capital committed or put to risk by AVEK. So it's not requiring any capital from AVEK. In addition, there's a long-term minimum annual net revenue guarantee from Metropolitan to AVEK, and Metropolitan is about as high a credit quality as you can get. Most of their bonds are AAA rated. It would be tough to find a better partner to provide a revenue guarantee. In addition to the minimum guaranteed revenue, there's potential for AVEK to earn additional revenue, or what we call upside in the financial world, if the facility is used more than sort of a minimum base level, which we all hope it will be. AVEK retains ownership and operational control of the facilities. AVEK gets second priority rights to use the banking capacity, so not only is there a financial benefit, but there's a water reliability benefit to the agency. At the end of the agreement term, the first priority rights to the banking capacity would revert back to AVEK. So again, that's a water reliability benefit. And then the arrangement does not restrict AVEK from developing other projects or banking agreements with other parties in any way. Benefits to Metropolitan are pretty straightforward. Metropolitan would get long-term first priority rights to direct banking capacity in a strategic location for them along the East Branch. And the project is cost-effective relative to some of the alternative water supply projects that they have before them. Now I'll go spend a couple of slides going through the particulars on the term sheet and what all is included. So the initial term of the agreement would be through September 2037. That's when AVEK State Water Project Table A contract is scheduled to terminate. That likely, very likely, will be extended. But committing to do banking beyond that is a little difficult until that contract is extended. Now, provided that the Table A contract is extended, Metropolitan would have an option to extend the banking agreement for another 20 years. So it's a long-term project. The water banking facilities, AVEK would be responsible for constructing, operating, maintaining, and owning those facilities. So the canal turnouts, the recharge basins, the recovery wells, the pipes, all that kind of stuff. First priority rights to use those facilities in that capacity would be Metropolitan's rights for the term of the agreement. Also for the term of the agreement, AVEK would have second priority to use the rights. So for example, if there's a year where Metropolitan is not using all of the recharge capacity, AVEK would be free to use that and accumulate storage in its account. The capacity that we're contemplating as part of the term sheet would be 70,000 acre feet of annual recharge and recovery capacity and 280,000 acre feet of total storage. Now this is the total capacity that's contemplated for the High Desert Water Bank, so Metropolitan would be committed to contract for the entire project capacity. Compensation to AVEK for Metropolitan, first there would be capital payments. Metropolitan would fund the entire capital cost of the facility, all the construction costs through a capital program account. Currently, we're estimating those capital costs to be $118.9 million. Annual O&M fees, Metropolitan would reimburse AVEK for actual O&M and management costs that the agency incurs. That would be reimbursed on kind of a yearly basis. Recovery usage fees. Now, this is one area where AVEK doesn't just recoup its costs, but actually profits on the project. So every time Metropolitan calls for water to be recovered from the facility in return, there'd be a payment of $100 per acre foot to AVEK, and that payment is CPI escalated. Minimum recovery usage fees. The purpose of this provision is to provide AVEK with some certainty as to the minimum amount of revenue that this project will generate. The minimum recovery usage fees are designed to be $2 million per year, CPI escalated, beginning upon completion of the facilities or first return of water to Metropolitan. So in other words, AVEK will be getting at least $2 million a year, even if Metropolitan doesn't use the facility at all. Now that'll go up as the facility gets used, but we're getting a minimum here of $2 million per year, CPI escalated. Now payments made by Metropolitan in excess of actual use of the facility or return of water would be credited to recovery fees in the future if needed, but the average payment would kind of stay at $2 million a year at minimum. And then Metropolitan would be able to credit excess payments to other costs, so energy costs and living costs, during the last 5 years of the agreement. Recovery, energy, and treatment. So if there are treatment costs, and then we know the project will incur energy costs as the water is recovered, Metropolitan reimburses actual costs to AVEK. Another important term, if AVEK decides it wants to develop additional banking capacity, find additional banking partners for that capacity, there's no restriction on doing so. So AVEK's able to go strike other agreements and other arrangements. If that other arrangement happens to be an agreement for lower priority banking capacity at the high desert site or at the infrastructure that Metropolitan is funded, the benefits will be shared equally with Metropolitan. So that concludes the summary of the terms. We've done some analysis on the potential revenues that AVEK is likely to generate from this agreement under a couple of different scenarios. We have a conservative scenario and an optimistic scenario. And we've taken a net present value calculation of those different scenarios to estimate what the present value of the benefits is to the agency. So the figure on the left shows the conservative scenario. This is the scenario where there's not a lot of use of the facility, so the payments kind of stay at the minimum $2 million, CPI escalated, and they don't start until completion of the facilities. Now under this scenario, which is quite conservative, the net present value to AVEK for the initial term, or through 2037, would be estimated at $23 million. Now if AVEK, or if Metropolitan extends the term, has an option for 20 years, the present value to AVEK would be $45 million. So conservatively, we can expect a present value of 23 to 45 million. Optimistically, if this facility just turns out to be, Metropolitan's best water banking facility, they have a significant need for reliability, they're using it all the time, the use of the payments would actually be much bigger than the minimums. And under a scenario like that, the initial term would have a net present value to AVEK of $38 million. With the terms extended, the net present value goes up to $71 million. Now, this optimistic scenario is based on an actual hydrologic scenario that is consistent with the scenarios we developed in the feasibility phase of this project. And so it's not an unrealistic scenario, but it would be quite financially generous to the agency.
Question. As far as the pumping the water out, who pays for the electrical cost to run the pumps?
Metropolitan.
And that doesn't, those revenues don't include the initial investment of $20 million.
That's correct. And we didn't include that because it's all paid by Metropolitan. It's not AVEK. Okay. So the recommendation coming from staff, as I understand it, is for the board to accept and approve the term sheet. And then the direction staff is asking for is to proceed with negotiating a formal agreement with Metropolitan that would be based upon the terms set forward in the term sheet. In terms of schedule, assuming that we do get that direction from the board, Metropolitan is planning to present an information item on this agreement to their board in September. They would come back to their board in October for action on the term sheet. And from there, we would be moving forward with negotiating the formal agreement. I'm anticipating that will run through December of 2018. That period is right with holidays, as we all know, so it's tough to get things done. But if we are able to get the formal agreement done by December, staff would likely be back here to you to ask for formal action on that agreement in January. And that's all I have to say. So, any questions?
Questions for Matt?
So the anticipated starting date would be January 2019?
That's correct.
That would be the date which the agreement is formally adopted by both parties, right in the early 2019. And then with the term sheet approval, AVEK would begin likely begin the planning, the design, and the construction process. That will probably take a year or so to complete portions of it, and be completed in various phases over the next 2 years.
I move approval of order 7B1.
I second.
Any more questions or discussion?
I would just like to make a comment and to commend staff and Westwater for their hard work on getting as far as we are right now. This is going to be a great opportunity for both AVEK and for Metropolitan. And it'll be is this the first time we've entered into a working agreement with them?
Correct.
So that also is another milestone. So thank you very much.
I'd like to say something. I agree with Director Sorsabal. This has been 2 years in the works, and it's going to benefit the entire valley. If we get up to the 280,000 acre feet of water in the ground, they're going to be leaving behind 10%, that means 28,000 acre feet of water will replenish the groundwater basin. So it'll just be the start of, I think, a long-term success program.
Thank you, Frank. Any more discussion?
So they do leave that 10% behind, and so if you put in that 280,000 acre feet, then 10% stays behind, correctly?
Correct.
And it happens over and over and over again.
I didn't hear the question.
Well, in essence, just because the storage capacity is 280,000 acre feet, they may put 2 million acre feet of water in the basin. It's just a question of it's going to be taking it in, taking it out, taking it in, taking it out, and every time they put it in, they're leaving 10% behind.
Yeah, no matter what, whoever puts water in the ground can only take 90% out. There'll always be repetitive of 10% left in the ground.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsabal,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Justin Lane. Justin,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Rob Perris,
Yes.
Marlon Barnes.
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
He's an attorney. He has an extensive background with the River Ranch project. The agency is currently beginning a negotiation with River Ranch on a development agreement to facilitate the water needs for their proposed project. And the committee and staff thought it was prudent to get someone of John's background and stature to help the agency with this particular project. And so the board would, the staff would recommend approval of the agreement. The fees of $3 million an hour contained in the agreement. And Mr. Music is here just to reintroduce himself. I know some of you know him, some of the other board members may not, and so he has come up here to at least introduce himself, and we recommend approval. It'd be great.
Thank you, Wayne. John Music. Nice to see my friends and make new friends. We started together on this path of supplying water under a service agreement with River Ranch in 1988, December 88. I was there then. I helped negotiate the first agreement. In that instance, I was working on behalf of River Ranch. This may be the 4th anniversary of the ever 7-year renewal of having to redo an agreement. And hopefully this will be the last. In this instance, with your support, I will be working on your behalf. And I need to disclose to everybody at one time, I was also an owner of River Ranch, and it was sold to the current owner, who then went through a bank reorganization and then sold to another current owner. And this is an opportunity for the board, regardless of whoever the lawyer is on it, to finalize the water supply for this, I think, a very vital project for the valley. And I'd be pleased to serve you in whatever capacity and with whatever limitations you put on this. I've been at this business for 48 years. I think I know a little bit, and with the guidance and leadership of the staff, your excellent lawyer and the excellent board, I'm sure we can fashion a very favorable agreement that will involve working with Waterworks District 40 and with a number of other parties.
Mr. Music, Rob Perris, I just have one question. Because of your past relationship with being an owner, and then I don't know what the contracts, sales contracts require, but is there any type of need for you to do a conflict waiver with any of the present owners?
I have no, and that's a good question. That's a very important question. In water law, as all of you know, and I work not only in California, but throughout the West and Hawaii and so forth, there are frequently conflicts. And frequently, and in many instances, I have worked on one side of the case or the other. And conflict waivers are very, very important. In this case, I have had no relationship with the current owner or with the immediate past owner. And I was 100% the prior owner of River Ranch for the period 1997 to 2004. And I have no conflicts with myself. I have completely removed from any economic responsibility for that ownership. And it was passed on with court approval to the next 2 subsequent owners. But if at any time any issue comes up that you think that there is an unfair or improper advantage, I will willingly withdraw myself from this, because protecting this board and the citizens you serve is more important than any economic interest I may have had in the past or may have in the future. And you rest assured, at my age, I don't need conflicts. I don't need the reputation of being honest and fair and square with this board and the citizens it serves.
Great, thank you, Mr. Music.
Oh, I must mention that I also represented the city of Palmdale at one time in the past during Bob Toon's tenure and Steve Williams' tenure. I no longer represent them, but not on this matter.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions of Mr. Music?
I just have a comment. I've dealt with you in the past, and my experiences have been, they've been very good experiences, and I think we'll be very lucky as a board to have Mr. Music on board with his extensive experience and background on Ritter Ranch and contract law. So I'd like to move to approve item 7B2.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Justin Lane,
Yes.
Robert Perris.
Yes.
Marlon Barnes.
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you, John. Looking forward to working with you again.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you all again, and my new friends and my old friends.
Speaking of that, the administrative staff for the Water Master Board has that paperwork available.
So anybody that's a small pumper can come in and pick that up?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that for parties that had not already been identified as small pumper?
That's correct.
And there's certain criteria that if they meet, then they can just sign in to the small pumper class. That will be approved once they
notifying people, or how is that information getting out to the public?
The water master has set up this program for people, primarily these are people who are either drilling a well or replacing a well that realize that they aren't included in the small pumper class, and so they make their application as they get to the class. The small pumpers will probably most likely be addressed in future periods, future years, once the rules, regulations, and the other larger producers are addressed by the water master board.
So this will be an ongoing
It's an
situation?
ongoing
Okay.
situation.
Thank you.
One question, Dwayne, on the real estate side, I've had some realtors call me, one yesterday again, wanting to know they've got a 2.5 acre piece with a house, with a well, and do they need to disclose that in the escrow, or how do they get that 1 acre full of water? Brought over to the.
Actually, I'd rather Dwayne not answer that question.
Okay.
That's a question for their legal counsel to answer. But if it's a 2.5 acre property that already has a well, then likely, if it meets the criteria of a small pumper, they would go through the application process. But that should be, a realtor should be asking a real estate attorney to respond to that.
Okay, so it is on the real estate's side to be sure that they include that in the disclosure?
I would imagine. Yeah. And I'm not giving legal advice.
They should, can be referred to the Board of Realtors.
Say that again?
They should be, they could be referred to the Board of Realtors for direction.
Then finally on the agenda is Gene Nebecker is going to give a short presentation on the issues regarding valley fever and dust, and he's going to have some government officials here with him, and they're limited to 30 minutes on that subject, and I've had discussions with Gene about that already. So it should be an interesting presentation. Then finally, the most pressing item is we're going to likely approve the Water Master annual report, and that's going to be the next item on our agenda that has been, I believe, provided to all the members.
Correct. At the last meeting, staff made a presentation on the draft Water Master report, and staff is recommending approval of that report for submittal, and it's just a formalization by the agency that they've looked at and reviewed the report.
And with that, I would move to approve Board Order 7C3.
I had one question. Rob, did those letters go out to the non-production right holders? People pumping without a production right?
There were several letters that did go out to people who were identified as pumping without a pumping right, yes. Signed by the Water Master Attorney. And do you want to second my motion here?
I'd second that.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Justin Lane,
Yes.
Robert Perris,
Yes.
Ron Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Carried. Item 7D, Personnel Legal, JPIA Committee, Committee Chairman Perris.
I believe we're going
We're going
to,
to defer this item.
Defer it till next meeting.
Till next meeting, yes.
and please everybody take a look at our new employee handbook and read it, and maybe next meeting we can discuss it and get it approved. Thank you. That's the commercial.
Thank you very much, Rob. Item 7E, Planning Committee.
I'm going to refer this item to Rob this evening.
Thank you. I think we have a PowerPoint set up, I hope, Holly, and we have lots of people here to talk. So we have a amazing opportunity to plant a conservation garden at the Antelope Valley Fair, and this came up at our last Antelope Valley State Water Contractors meeting. The opportunity is in the La Plaza area at the gazebo at the fair. If any of you have, well, I think all of you have been there, I hope. It's two major sections that need landscaping. It's going to be at an incredibly prominent community location, and it's going to be with a partnership with not only the Antelope Valley Fair, but also with the other Antelope Valley State Water Contractors. This is the area of the gazebo, and it's a little small, but if you take a look at the back of the area, there's two dirt areas, and then to the southeast, there's a large dirt area, and then a few other dirt areas that are going to be the areas that we will plant the conservation garden in. And I wish this was my idea, but it actually was an idea of Kathy McLaren from the Palmdale Water District Board. So she had taken us out there to take a look at where it is, and Kathy is pointing to the two areas. I believe this is going to be the west side of the gazebo area, two dirt areas that we are going to, if we approve this project, we can sponsor and have the beginnings of our conservation garden by this fair. And I have Dan Jacobs that I'll introduce and come up with some of our other friends of the fair to talk about this, but at the conclusion of this presentation. So the idea is the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors would be the sponsor, would finance this project, and we would have, in this area is where we could put our sponsor placard that shows all of us participating in the conservation garden. And maybe we can convince Mr. Jacobs to give us a few other areas to put it in. And what this shows is, if any of you have been to Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, in the front of their building, they have two conservation gardens. They have these placards out that identify the plants, and then on each plant, or each of the planting areas, they have placards that identify the plant and the fact that it takes low water and that type of information. And it is planned that if we approve this conservation garden, we would do very much the same that the LADWP has done at their conservation garden. And we have a plan already for the conservation garden. Denise, I believe that you have done that plan, right?
I did, yes.
And at this point, if I could have Dan and our friends of Fair and Denise come on up, and let's have a little conversation so you can let the board know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then I'll fill in some financial information. It's okay for you to do anything you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you.
And while Dan's passing those out, I'll give a little bit of history. The Antelope Valley State Water Contractors 3 or 4 years ago started the Conservation Expo at the fair. We funded it according to our table A. It was about $33,000 to $35,000 to do the Conservation Expo. We did that for 2 or 3 years, and Denise was a huge part of that expo. Last year, we joined with the Home and Garden Show with the fair, was invited us, and we did that for a $10,000 sponsorship, saving about $23,000 from our conservation budget. At the last expo, I believe some of our landscapers with Denise help put together a conservation garden inside one of the buildings, which was very well received. So out of all that kind of grew this project where we potentially can do a conservation garden designed by our own very Denise, and could be presented to hundreds of thousands of people in our community as it goes to the fair. So, Dan and Denise, it's your show now.
Well, thank you for having me, allowing me to be here tonight. I would like to say that August 20th is Chase Rice, and although Gary said he will be at your budget meeting, he may not be, just if you don't hear him. Thanks for considering this project. I want to point out that I just met Denise. She did do this design for us at the behest of Jesse Concho, who has done some work for AVEK in the past. And although this project is presented on behalf of the AVEK Fairgrounds, I'd like to say it's a multi-partner, there's multiple parties involved in this project. They're members of a group that they formed a couple of years ago called Amigos de la Feria, which is a part of our Friends of Fair Foundation. And this area has become just a tremendous tribute to the work that these landscape professionals do. And this area, I have to say, is probably the most beautiful part of our fairgrounds, and it's going to be for years to come. And the project that Denise has designed here is actually over 3 years. The portion that Director Perris is talking about tonight is something that these gentlemen are prepared to start with right away and finish by this year's fair. So again, thank you for considering us as a partner in your project, but please also peruse our strategic plan, because this is a learning opportunity for the fair, for outreach to our community, and we would be very proud to partner with you on this project. Thank you.
And then Denise, if you could just give us a few words about the design itself, and the fact that we're using plants that will use little water and will be adapted to our desert community and people could use in their yards.
Yeah, so the goal was to take what was already existing and then add to that and make it so people will know that these things will grow in the Antelope Valley. And everything, the majority, I would say 90% of it is low water. And I think a lot of it would be nice to show part of the irrigation, because that's such a big part of the whole thing. The plants and the irrigation have to work together. If there's, one fails, the other fails. So there's a lot of variety with the planting, so it will look good all year round. A lot of things happen in the wintertime here, and it looks terrible as you drive around town. So in this case, both, it'll look good in winter as well as in summertime, and color in the fall as well. So that kind of was the goal. And also, I think down the road, it'd be nice to add maybe some, boulders and rocks and just kind of dress things up a little bit so people can kind of see that even if you don't have a lawn, it's still looking really nice. So that kind of was the long-term goal. So things will last for a while and have longevity to it.
Great. And I need to disclose that Denise designed my backyard at Crystal Air Country Club, so if you're ever at the 8th green, if you look at the yard with all the desert plants, Denise did that. So, plus she's done many businesses around the community. So thank you, you've done great work, and we appreciate you being here. I'm going to continue with the presentation. And then Dan, could you tell us a little bit more about the La Plaza area and how it's being financed for the community?
Well, I have to say, it's been a long-term project, but I met Candy when we actually moved the fairgrounds about 14, 15 years ago now. And he came over and offered his services, and he, pretty much just his company has developed this project. And a couple of years ago, the fair decided that we would move into this area and start investing a lot of money. And Candy and the group designed this project. They have an architect as one of their groups named Francisco Lua. And they took the existing structures that we had, added to them, and really has created just it's a Hispanic themed area, but it's with a waterfall. And we can't wait for the next year's edition, where there's the southeast of the gazebo there.
Great, thank you. And let me see what the next slide shows. So the budget for the first year of the project would be approximately $25,000. It's going to be broken up by the table A amounts that each one of the members of the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors has. So this gives you, our share would be $21,425. It is anticipated, I'm hoping that we would be involved for the 3 years of the project at the same budget per year. So $25,000 per year from the state water contractors. At our last meeting of the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors, we provided a similar presentation. We had unanimous agreement to go ahead and go to our boards to get approval on this project. So this is, and then after 3 years, I believe Dan has committed that if we continue a sponsorship of about $5,000 per year, we would continue to be the sponsor of the area, and the fair would keep up the plants and the signs and our sponsorship banners. So that's about what the cost would be. What I think is real important is since I've been on the board, our conservation budget, again, we did the Conservation Expo where we spent approximately the same amount for one day event. We also, when we were going through the drought, we're spending about $50,000 a year for cash for grass, and I believe this would be a much better project for our whole community to be able to actually have a conservation garden that they can go to whenever they're at the fair. And any questions?
Yeah, what do we have in our conservation budget fund?
Well, we just finished the fiscal year. I'll let Dwayne or Matt answer that question.
Yes, well, we would anticipate budgeting another $100,000 for the next fiscal year. And this project, along with the other projects that the board has approved, the resource conservation project, the other events that we've sponsored in the past, all are within that $100,000 budget. Thank you.
So then we would figure that in every year for 3 years, or every
well, we've consistently had $100,000 in our budget for the last 3 years having to do with conservation. So if the board is conducive to doing that the next 3 years, then there would be sufficient funds to fund this project along with the other projects that the agency is involved with.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I think it's a great community effort to be able to educate people on how to conserve water and have their yards look nice. We've spent a lot of money and we're in and out in a day or two, and this will be everlasting.
I think it's a great opportunity. So Shelley, would you like to do the...
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And is there any other questions? Any questions from the public? If not, I turn it back to you.
Any more discussion or questions from board members?
Dan, what was the completion date on that?
About 2 weeks.
The day the fair opens.
From next week, next year's fair or this year?
The portion that we were talking about is going to be finished this year for fair.
Oh, wow. This, and just let me show that to you. So this area, like in the right area, Dan, do you see?
Yes.
So this is the area that will be completed for this fair. Plus there's already low water landscaping within the gazebo area that we can start, I believe, start marking and making part of the conservation garden. And then phase 2, I believe, is going to be this area out where there's a big dirt area, and phase 3 would continue into this area as, and I believe that's the area where we're going to put the museum.
No, the museum is
Down further?
Okay. To the south.
So our commitment right now is just for the La Plaza area. And maybe I'll plant a seed for the museum later, but for now it's just the La Plaza area.
That sounds good to me, Rob. Plant that seed.
You can water it.
Any more questions? Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sosebel?
Yes.
Keith Dias?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yes.
Justin Lane,
Yes.
Robert Perris,
Yes.
Alan Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Duncan.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for bringing me everyone. We'll be here.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for your presentation.
Item 8A, engineers report.
Yes, we have an engineer's report for you today. I'm pleased to report the board that the agency received its occupancy permit today, so we are fully functional here, and the lab is fully ability to operate. We're going to look at August 13th as the date in which we open doors for customers coming to the new laboratories. So it's that part of the project.
That's excellent. It's good that Justin can go to work now.
Yes. We do, on the low voltage wiring equipment, we only have the training that's left to complete, and that will be completed next week. And on the solar projects, we have been contacted by Southern California Edison. They are adjusting their crews in order to facilitate a high priority project.
What a surprise.
Yes, a high priority project of connecting our solar facilities. So they've made contact with us today, and we anticipate a very rapid deployment of crews as necessary to get a project complete.
Well, that's excellent, and I'd like to say thank you to Director Perris for spearheading this with our local legislators to get the situation elevated.
Well, I would like to thank our State Senator Scott Wilk and our State Assemblyman Tom Lackey and their staffs jumped right on this. They understood the importance to us in our community, and they're the ones who got this done. So big thank you to them and their staffs.
Thank you, Rob.
Item 8B, general manager's report. Dwayne?
Yes, here's the general manager's report for July 24, 2018. I have to look at a different screen now, so here we go. Here's the precipitation. You can see this is the northern Sierra precipitation. You can see by this blue line right here. See improvement over last time. And so you can see that we're right at this flat area, and we're not going to reach average. This is the average total for here. But we still have our 35%, and with our banking capacity, have more than adequate water supplies to meet all of our customer obligations this year and next year also. This is an interesting chart. What this chart does is these blue marks are what an average month, what the average month of water quantity might be in our area. And as you can see, the yellow is the actual. So you can see we had a poor October, a really good November, a poor December, a less than average January, a really poor February, and thank goodness for March and April that provided more than average rainfall totals. So these are the kinds of weather things that drive water resource people crazy, because you think you're doing well in November only to find yourself falling on your face in December as far as water supply goes. Our reservoir quantities look very good, very close on average. Lake Orville continues to be below average due to the construction activities, and so they're where they need to be. You can see St. Louis here is right about the average level, so we're looking pretty good in St. Louis. Once again, this is the Lake Orville conditions, and this is the St. Louis conditions, and you can see we're kind of tracking historical. You'll probably see us come down here in September to our lowest point and then back up. That's looking pretty good for the next year because of still within San Luis Reservoir. It's getting the water south of the delta is the key to a reliable water supply for the agency. And then this is, there is both federal water and state water that's in San Luis Reservoir. This gives you the, this is the federal share, the light blue, and the dark share is DWR share, or the statewide project share. It all looks really good compared to previous years when we were in drought, as you all remember. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. We had 35%. That's a little over 50,000 acre feet for the agency to import, and we have plans to utilize all that water either through banking operations, delivery to our customers, storage in San Luis, and some landowner to landowner transfers. When we look at our plant flows, you can see we're a little higher because of the warm weather than we were last year. You can see 45 here in Quartz Hill, Rosewood 4, and so you can see between, if you add them all up, we have 54.5 for as our current flow, whereas last year at the same time it was 36 million gallons a day. So it's a little, you can see, we're still operating at about less than half of our total capacity supply. So from the geopurification aspect, you can see that we're running about 10 million gallons a day, 10.4 million gallons a day through all the facilities. Very consistent to last year's flow. That's to that primarily maintains our water quality during this very, very warm summer period, utilizing these flows to combine with our imported water supplies that keeps our THC levels low. So if you look at the total of the everything, that's where you get our total amount, and you can see we've had about a 17% increase in the last 2 weeks of deliveries. So people are using their water to keep their yards up to speed, and we're providing some of that flow. Let's see, you can see here we're not doing a whole lot of water banking at the present time. We have the west side of the water bank is off. We're doing some maintenance on the west side line. We've taken advantage. This is the poorest time to be water banking because of the heat, evaporation, other factors, and so this is a good time to be able to do that. But we're still putting water on the high desert water bank in order to do the pilot testing that we were doing to facilitate the design of the project as we move forward. Water quality, I need to let you know that we've had a real high level of moss and algae in the canal. The warm weather has really made that a problem. We've actually had warning levels at Lake Pyramid and San Luis Reservoir that really prevents people from going into the water. And it's been quite a difficult task for the staff. We've had to put on extra staff, rotate some extra operators from other water plants to the Quartz Hill water plant in order to be able to deal with the increased algae levels on the screens and within the treatment processes. And it's likely to get worse before it gets better. But we've been able to, all the water that's been delivered to our customers and all of our water quality standards, and so we're in good shape there. It's just a lot of cleaning, a lot of removals, and a lot of extra time and effort that's going into making sure that the water is meeting our high standards.
Do you experience that every year, or?
This is unusual. I mean, this is unusually high. We do experience it every year, but this is a little bit beyond what we consider to be normal. We have been in contact with DWR are about particular copper sulfate treatments that might help aid us in this. But unfortunately, if you treat it today, you won't see it for 3 or 4 weeks. So it makes it very difficult to deal with. One of the disadvantages that AVEK has versus other agencies is because we take our water directly out of the canal and into the facility for treatment, where if you have a settling pond or a lake like Palmville has, they allow that to settle out, and it doesn't become as significant an issue for them. They have other issues associated with lakes, so it's, you know, it's not one, some parts are good, some parts are bad, but by and large, it's been difficult for the staff to put a lot of extra time and effort, a lot of overtime to make sure that the filters are filtering the water out.
Is that due to the excessive heat?
Yes, I mean, you know,
Primarily.
it doesn't help, certainly. We always have problems during this time of the year with the excessive heat, and it's just made it much more difficult. So, on to the next thing, as far as status and updates, we've got a water master meeting tomorrow at 10 here in this room here, and the River Water Institute is coming up August 22nd to the 24th. I plan to be on vacation in the first full week of August. Otherwise, we'll be here for balance of time. So that concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Dwayne?
Dwayne, are we pumping anything out of the bench ranch?
No.
All those wells are off.
Oh, yes.
And where are we at with Big Rock Creek?
Big Rock Creek, that particular project is the AVEK State Water Contractors. They awarded a contract last Thursday, and that project will begin in a few weeks once they get their first organizational meeting.
And that's still the joint venture with Palmdale and Little Rock?
That's correct. Through the AVEK State Water Contractors Association.
Great.
It's administrative.
Thank you, Dwayne. Item 9, Director's Report. Rob?
No report.
Marna? Shelley?
Nothing additional.
Frank, do you have a report?
No.
Justin?
No, this is nice.
Gary?
Thank you for the Antelope Valley Fair coming out, and pushing their conservation agenda. Look forward to working with you guys. All of you guys, and I believe Camacho's part of that group too, so I think it's a great thing going forward. Thank you.
Item 10, do we have an attorney's report?
No report.
Thank you. Item 11, any reason to go into closed session tonight?
Any reason, Bill?
No.
Okay. No.
All right. That brings us to item 12, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Shelley Sorsville,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Justin Lane. Yes. Robert Perris,
Yes.
Marlon Barnes,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.